Hello everyone, it's Fiona, as every Sunday, talking about art and watercolour and mental well-being that can be reached through the practice of art. Today I'm going to be painting with some watercolours that were sent to me by Lightwish, and also I will be testing calligraphy brushes. I have tested calligraphy brushes in the past and I have to say my experience wasn't super positive. The bristles kind of feel dry and stiff. Not the juicy bristles you'd want to paint with watercolour, let's say. So I know, I only tried them once, and they are called calligraphy brushes for a reason. They're meant for lettering, they're meant for writing, but I have come across quite a few art YouTube channels that gave these ones by Lightwish a really positive review. So I'm going to give them another try. I'm going to be painting a portrait with them, which is something that's a little bit scary, but yes, I'm going to give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? I can learn something. That's how I like to see it, at least most of the time, let's put it that way. So grab your paints, grab all your art supplies, and even if it's just swatching, then do it. I'm sure it will get these creative juices flowing and it will make you feel better. It will get that dopamine pumping. So let's dive right into it. So big reveal, I like large watercolor pans, so full pans I think they're called, whereas the little ones are half pans. Let's look at my usual palette. These are full pans and these are half pans. I love full pans. When I saw that the box was this big, I was hoping for full pans, but I do have a feeling that they will not be full pans. Let's see. It's happening, we're about to find out. I'm not looking. There's no need to not look because we have this, and and they are not full pans. There's definitely a lot of colours in here, a lot of interesting colours as I can see, but not full pans. I would have liked full pans. Lightwish, make full pans please, and let us know in the comments if any others out there prefer full pans. And the reason is simple, it's because it's much easier to get your brush in there without kind of bending and damaging the bristles. Anyway, I will be using these watercolours for today's painting, and I will try and use the brushes that came with it, these brushes. But I'm not promising anything because I've said it before, I am really bad at painting with these brushes. And I have to make a shameful admission here. I got my sister to unwrap the pans and my niece to swatch the paints because they love to do that kind of thing more than me, or rather, it's newer to them. So thank you to my little helpers. I'm now all set to dive into the painting. So trying these brushes, I have to tell you, I am slightly scared of these brushes. The reason being that I have painted with calligraphy brushes in the past and I did not have, I think I didn't get them. Let's put it that way. My problem with calligraphy brushes is the bristles. They seem so stiff to me and dry. But I think I might have not been using them correctly. I have seen people use these for portraits and saying that they were their favourite brushes, not these specific Lightwish ones. I'm just talking about calligraphy brushes, which are intended for Chinese calligraphy, I believe. And I do not do calligraphy. And yeah, you know, I do portraits mainly, so yeah. First things first, I'm going to try and understand these brushes, and I will be swatching them and playing around with them a little bit. Prepare to swoon this beautiful sketchbook custom-made sketchbook was sent to me by a follower, a subscriber, Lisa. If you're watching this, thank you again. I mean, it is just beautiful and filled with goodies, and it's just exceptional, filled with all kinds of watercolor paper and interesting little details. I mean, just look at this. It's gorgeous. So I have hot pressed on this side, smooth paper, and cold pressed on this side, which has more texture to it. So I would think what we have to do here is kind of maybe bend the bristles a little bit, because there's probably some form of glue holding them together. I'm dipping them in some water over here. So the brush seems to have become kind of slimy once I removed that glue, I think just by having it sit in the water for not even a minute. You supposedly you should not leave these in water, or you'll ruin them. You'll ruin the glue that holds the bristles in place. So it feels less stiff. Let's try it. I'm already beginning to feel that I got these brushes wrong the first time around. I'm going to try and use a smaller one to see if it will allow me to get into details. And yeah, so I'm picking the smallest one, and I think this is it. It doesn't have a number on it or anything of the sort, but this definitely looks like the smallest one in the set. It does come to a nice tip, so it might be useful for those little details that you have to get into. This definitely gets a nice fine line, and then if I press it down and I lift it, I can get a thicker line. Yeah, and I'm not one for precision, as in it's hard for me to get really fine lines. I don't have that very light pressure. I get squiggly. Let's give it a try. You should be more confident, kind of like this, but try being this confident when you're painting an eyelash. Anyway, I think I am ready to paint with these. So apparently this minty colour, which is called Turquoise Deep, is made with PG26, and I looked it up and it means that it only has one pigment. Well, I thought there would be white in that, but since there isn't any white, that means it's not an opaque colour, and I'm going to use it as an underpainting. Okay, I'm starting off with a number 2 Lightwish brush, even though I'm not sure why it's called a number 2, because this one is smaller. So the smaller ones don't have numbers on them. So there's quite a few that are smaller than this one. I don't know how they are numbered, what the criteria for that is. Anyway, I'm going to go in with an underpainting, hoping that this is quite transparent and will not muddy my subsequent layers, because that's what happens usually when a watercolor isn't transparent. Then it can muddy up your mixtures, your layers, when you're painting in layers, which is something that you do almost all of the time with watercolor. I swear if this colour holds up as an underpainting, I am going to be obsessed with it, and I'm hoping that you can order it individually. But let's carry on. Okay, so I've mixed this kind of mud tone over here. It's just the primary colours, basically a yellow, a blue, and a red. Of course, it's just a pinprick of blue in there. And now, big reveal. How is this going to layer over the painting, the underpainting? Let's give it a go. Well, it is very transparent. This mixture that I created is very transparent. Very light because it's super watery, but I'm almost more interested in, I know that these are high quality paints because They always seem to be now. It's really common to come across professional level paints. In the past it wasn't as common. Now I can rely on certain brands always having high quality paints, but I'm really curious about the brushes, because I know that when you change an art supply very times, it can really kick you out of your comfort zone and spark that creativity. And for me that happened moving back to hot press paper after a few months of not using it as regularly as I used to, and that really got me into a creative burst, which I am in at the moment. And I am wondering if, since I've seen so many artists seem to love these calligraphy brushes also to paint portraits, if these will do the same for me. If you look back to my older videos, back when I was pretty inconsistent on YouTube, one thing YouTube taught me, by the way, is consistency. It's what makes things work. Not only YouTube channels, and it's not 100% guaranteed, otherwise I would have 500,000 followers, which I don't, but it really is key to most things in life. Learn to draw, consistency. Learn to paint, consistency. Get fit, consistency. Consistency all the way with most things in life is kind of a make it or break it deal, and lack thereof is why things aren't working. Really, you should try it. It's like a magic trick. It can even help you in getting negative thinking under control. Sorry, I got sidetracked there for a little bit. So back when I was not uploading consistently to my YouTube channel, I made a video about watercolor brushes, and I used calligraphy brushes too. And I was almost in shock that anyone would think to paint with them. Now I'm wondering whether it was me trying to paint with them without having rinsed off that coat of glue, or if the brushes were bad. I quite honestly can't remember what brand they were, if any, but they left streaks in the painting, and it felt like painting with twigs. Please let me know if you have had the same experience with these brushes. It might just be you are not rinsing them properly before you use them. This is the most underwhelming reveal. Does it only come down to that, rinsing off glue? I'm low-key embarrassed if that's the case. And I'm going to go in with this big whopper of a brush. There. I'm going to give it a bit of a background. Sometimes a piece or portrait or painting of any kind won't work because there's not enough contrast. So having a background can start to add that contrast that you will find useful to have there later on. I wouldn't go super dark, of course, if you still have to paint some of the elements in your piece, but I would definitely start getting rid of the white of the paper if you want to have a piece that has, as I said, a little bit more contrast. You can go in with a mix of indigos and greens and browns, which is what I'm doing, just to give it that, accentuate all the elements and get them to stand out more. And you can do this wet and wet and add different consistencies to it to make it more interesting and get some nice effects. These colours have created an interesting granulation in the background, And also I love how it's not a mint at all actually, it's my new mint I would call it. That turquoise deep, that PG26 worked as an underpainting. The colours laid over it fantastically and there was no muddiness at all, and just look how it shines. I am in love with this colour. This is definitely getting very expressive, but I'm enjoying it, and that's a good thing when you're testing out paints and brushes, is that you just get to play and to have fun. So I'm literally doing that, I'm playing. And don't forget to play when you're painting with watercolour, or when you're making art in general, because it's in the phase of the play that your style starts to take form. One of the comments I get more often in my comment section below my YouTube videos, which is very flattering by the way, is I hope one day I will be able to paint like you. Thank you so much, but I just wanted to tell you this is what we do over on my Patreon. We sketch, we paint, and we also have animal and people portrait painting sessions live twice a month, and everything is recorded if you can't make it to the live sessions. So if you want to paint like me or your own version of what I do, your own style even better, I can help you find it over on Patreon, and you get it all right now at the $12 tier, the Lunar Black tier. There are also years worth of recorded tutorials, and every one comes with a sketch outline for you to trace. The link will be in the description box below this video. There's a bubbling, thriving international community of art lovers, and we absolutely cannot wait for you to join us. So yes, come and make some new art, friends. So you can see that the dry ones are so stiff, they go back to being so stiff, and the damp ones are super soft and bendy and come to a really nice fine tip. I think that is something that's different from watercolor brushes that I use, like this one. For example, if you look at this one, it's dry, but it's still very bendy, very soft. instead with these calligraphy brushes, when they're dry, the bristles go back to being very kind of stiff and they don't feel like anything you would have an enjoyable experience painting with. But that is deceiving. Because when you wet them, they're just kind of like watercolor, they reactivate. So I really want to have a second look at this palette, and I think the good thing about it is that I realised while painting there's so much mixing space in the lid and also in this flap that opens up at the bottom. So when you're using this palette, you really don't need a mixing tray. The other thing is that there are some really interesting colours. I also ended up using skin, though I don't really like using opaque watercolours that much, but I just used it for some accents on the flowers. And of course, I've fallen in love with this colour, which is turquoise deep, and it's PG26. So if any of you know about more about this PG26, please let me know. It's called turquoise deep. I really also want to have a look at this one, which is turquoise light. So here is the PG26. Those codes are to identify the pigments that go in to the colour. I might think that PG is pigment green. It looks like this turquoise deep does not have the same level of opacity that Mint by White Nights has. It's more transparent, and that could be a game changer for people like me who use it in portraits because it won't muddy them up. I do prefer this colour on this side, definitely. And I'm not sure whether this has white in it because of that bee. Please let me know in the comments, all you watercolor pigment nerds. I don't mean that in an offensive manner. I actually really admire you, and one of my patrons is an expert, I would say. You know who you are. So jump in the comments and let me know what pigments these contain. And I wanted to check out some browns as well. I'm purposefully allowing the Pozzuoli red to kind of interblend with the turquoise light. Not that this is happening much, but these two colors together, I think, can create magic, especially in portraits. I really like this Pozzuoli red, which by the way is PR 101 Pozzuoli red ochre. Pozzuoli red ochre. I also want to have a look at the umber. Very beautiful color, and the umber is PR 101, and then there's some other words, some other letters added to it, but I can't see them because I painted over them, would you believe it? There's another number. I think these can be found online if we look at this large Light Wish palette, and I'll just write umber. Okay, maybe I might write Light Wish at the top here, so I know where these colours come from. PR 177, which I'm assuming means pigment red. 177. And I just love the juiciness of that. I call this a pink, I don't even call it a red. Probably it falls into the category of cool reds, but this is definitely something that I am going to be using. So all of these colors, and possibly even the skin tone that I was mentioning, which surely has white in it, I would only use it for like embellishments at the end of the piece, because let's read what the pigment information is for this one, and it's PY35. PY35, and it's called Skin. The binding agent, by the way, is gum arabic, so like traditional Western watercolors. So it's not some fish glue or anything like that, like we have for the Kuretake, for example. Definitely some colors in this palette that I don't think I can do without again. 1, 2, and I really love the Pozzuoli red as well. And by the way, you will get links to discounts on both the brushes and the paints in the description box. That old version of us can't do no more talking or crying out in vain. I won't love you, but it's more of the same. Thank you so much for watching my video all the way through. I hope you will join our amazing international Patreon community with live and recorded sketches and tutorials every week. And yes, we cannot wait to welcome you over there. So see you soon. Or I will see you next Sunday. Bye for now. Have a fantastic week.